Mystic Mine was released in the Dark Neostorm set in May of 2019. It debuted in a set with cards like Cherubini, Ib the World Challenge Justiciar, and the rest of the powerful Orcus archetype. Upon release, Mystic Mine saw a good amount of success in decks like Sky Striker, Orcus, and even dedicated burn strategies. Usually with these type of Floodgate-like cards, they typically have effects to stop your opponent from using or summoning certain cards. The unique thing that drew players into Mystic Mine though was the fact that monsters also couldn't attack. This made it to where deck out was possible if the opposing player didn't have backrow removal such as Cosmic Cyclone or Twin Twisters. The initial reaction of the community was that a card like this shouldn't exist and should be dealt with as soon as possible. On the July 2019 Forbidden and Limited list, both Terraforming and Metaverse would be put to 1. This unsurprisingly wouldn't stop players from using Mystic Mine, and players would continue to complain about it. As the controversy of this card spiked, so did the amount of players defending the card. Some players see Mystic Mine as a necessary evil to suppress the overwhelming amount of combo-based deck that also did unfair things. Other players would see it as an uninteractive and dreadful way of playing out a match. Whether you are for or against Mystic Mine, we can all agree when it's relevant in the format, it's best to play it out to a card in the main or the side deck. That is where the dilemma begins. Whenever you are essentially forced to play an otherwise unnecessary card in your deck to specifically stop an interaction is usually unhealthy for the game. If you switch Mystic Mine with something like Imperial Order, True King of All Calamities, or even an FTK deck, simply saying just draw the out doesn't cut it, which is why these interactions are banned. Another problem with a card like Mystic Mine is the fact that almost every deck can abuse it. If you look at a card like Skill Drain, you can only get full value out of the card in the deck like Eldritch. When I think of a necessary evil, I generally think of cards used against the meta, but the fact that the meta can abuse the card as well doesn't make it seem like one. Another issue with Mystic Mine is even with the out in your deck, some archetypes can take full advantage of the card right away. Some people have the idea that Mystic Mine is just a deck out card, but fail to realize strategies can set up their own board after a few turns of passing. You see it in decks like Dinosaurs to where you can drop Mystic Mine and wait a few turns until you build enough resources to OTK. We've also seen in decks like Prank Kids to where you can continually inflict 500 damage to where you're put on a limited turn clock to draw the set out. Lastly, if you look at the Sky Striker list from YCS Hartford, the deck wasn't all about having the one Mystic Mine stick. It had cards like Demise of the Land, Metaverse, Trap Trick, Dimensional Barrier, and even Artifact Scythe, which all help you get into another Mystic Mine. When you have this many turn skips on top of having to deal with Mystic Mine, it becomes a game of does he have it rather than an interactive game of Yu-Gi-Oh! My last problem with a card like Mystic Mine is that Konami generally doesn't build decks designed to outmine. Most archetypes heavily rely on their monster effects to deal with common issues. If every deck or type had a Virtual World Gate Chuche or a Heavenly Dragon Circle, Mystic Mine wouldn't be that much of an issue. Again, when you have to play a specific card in your main deck to potentially deal with something you would otherwise be guaranteed to lose to, it's generally frowned upon. If players were told to just draw the hand trap against a Pendulum FTK or Danger Dark World FTK deck, it wouldn't sit right with the community either. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always had powerful floodgates like Skill Drain or Rivalry of the Warlords, but for a card like Mystic Mine, it differs. It is seen as a necessary evil, but as I argued before, that only works if the meta decks can't abuse it. I don't think Mystic Mine would be that much of an issue if it was limited, as decks generally couldn't build a strategy around the card. A lot of the core problems with Mystic Mine is that you can consistently see it with cards like Terraforming, Set Rotation, Metaverse, and even obscure cards like Demise of the Land. Those are just my thoughts and opinion on the card. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below, and thank you guys for watching as always.